and welcome to this episode of Flobel Academy. We are so excited to have our guest, Tony Daniels, on with us today. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Jana. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have you. Tony, for those of you who don't know, has been the voice of CBC Television, or ADR, for Sean Penn.
That's right. I've done some Sean Penn, ADR, and Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Neg 25 was my best.
He has also been a multitude of voices for characters and cartoons on X-Men, Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon is Jedi. He's cool. And like 200 other voices on there.
See how you like it when this TV show is your life.
Yeah, that sounds like cool.
Numchucks.
Numchucks. I think it was some sort of squirrel or something. I can't remember.
Ying Yang Yo.
Tons. Ultimos was my favorite on that one. And Cragler, those guys are crazy. I even got to do Lewis Black and Steve Marmel, who had me do Lewis Black's lines in there as this guy named Boopy Von Happy Pants. I did it such like this. They just went, you know what? We're just going to keep you as him. Lewis isn't going to do it. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
He's also been in The Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, did a couple of characters. I was a camera.
Whoa, very
My
cool.
first time playing a camera.
He was also in The Avengers.
That's right. I'm Hawkeye, so don't mess with me. Forget it, Jeremy Renner.
So as you can hear, audience, Tony has done a multitude of voices, and he's incredibly talented. He's also been nominated for 2 Grammys for co-producing a Song of the Year and for vocal production for Pop Vocal of the Year.
With my friend Cassandra Kubinski, who is a Flobel advisor and a super talent. So I'm surrounded by a lot of talented women.
So Tony, can you tell our audience kind of how you got your start working as a voiceover artist or in the arts in general?
Yeah. My dad, when I was a kid, brought home a snare drum. I was like 3 years old, and I'm like, I could play it. My mom's got a Scottish accent. She said, "Get that thing out of my house." And then my dad's got a Maltese accent, but he's a mix of everything. Anyway, so he takes it out of the house and he comes and shows up with a guitar, and then I pick it up and I could play. And so that was it. And I started playing. And then by the time I was about 10, I had some friends that they all wanted to be musicians. So we had a junky little drum set, and I had a guitar and an amp, and another guy had a little bass and an amp. We were up on top of this roof, and these guys heard me play, older guys, and they said, "We want you in our band." And I started playing, and one day there was a guy named Big Shotgun Tom Rivers, one of the big radio guys. He went north of the 49th. I was living in Toronto, and he came north of the 49th to avoid the draft, of course. And thank God for amnesty after. And he saw me playing at this club, and he's like, "How old are you?" I said, 13 or 12 at the time. I can't remember. And I had this deep voice. I was the original Froggy. And he's like, "I want you on my radio show." So I went. Yeah, I went to the show, and I brought a guitar and I played, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I want to do this. And within a year I was interning with him. And then I had my own little TV show on one of the first cable companies. And I was the first guy to play rock videos on TV years and years, like 10, 15 years before MTV and Much Music and all this stuff.
Wow, that's incredible. So you've done radio, and you've also done commercials, and you've done movies. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into television and film as well?
Yeah. So I was doing radio, and one of the things that brought me to New York, other than family, was doing some stuff for the Howard Stern show. I still, every so often, they'll call and go, "Hey, can you do this for us?" They're really cool. So I just started doing stuff in radio, and then I was working with this guy, and he's, "Hey man, I've got this casting director. She wants to meet you." And because they started calling me the man of a thousand voices. Well, I had done like just a couple. So within a few months, I'd probably done about 70, 80 impressions on air. And then now I think professionally, I've ADR'd for, I think, close to 600 actors.
Wow, that's incredible. So I know what ADR is, and I'm so appreciative of actors who do ADR. Could you tell any of us who might not know what ADR is a little bit more about that?
ADR stands for automatic dialogue replacement. So when they shoot a film, one of my first ADRs was, oh my gosh, I was a kid. And it was for Kevin Dillon. And so I always got the weird guys because those are the voices that are really hard to match because they're not like it's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger or, I've done Stallone, but, anyway, so they're not, those characters that you can do. So I went in and I was listening and I was able to pop his voice in. So what they do is sometimes when they're shooting a film, and in this specific situation, the director is yelling directions out because it's a fast moving scene. So Kevin wasn't available to do his own ADR, replacing his voice where the director was yelling. So I went in and you watch the mouth flaps. And I really cut my teeth on mouth flapping with Sailor Moon because it was brought to Canada from Optimum Productions. And they were basically not like I'd done ADR in Chinese movies and stuff. There was a really cool Kung Fu movie and there was like a 25-minute scene. And he goes, okay, this is a 25-minute fight scene, right? And you're ADRing. Yeah. And it's really hard because you're mouthing flaps for a foreign language. So trying to make English fit in is tricky, but fun. And as a musician, it's easier. So this one was cool. I go, I'm not going to watch the whole thing and then do it. What happens at the end? You die. Perfect. Roll. And we just chased it. And it was great. And the chasing is when you catch up. But for the other stuff is like for Kevin, it was like doing his lines, matching his mouth and his emotion. And then they pop it in and you're not supposed to be able to tell.
Wow, that's incredible. So who are some of your favorite people that you've ADR'd for that we might know?
And not just ADR'd for them, but also did their voices for them in person. Sean Connery. Yeah. Yes, that's one of my favorites. I love doing his voice. But funny, a friend of mine did a really good Sean Connery. So they hired him for Connery. And they hired me for Patrick Stewart. And we did the Scottish Film Festival for them because they weren't available. And so it was fabulous. And I've done it for him when I was at William Morris in LA. He and I hit it off. He's a lovely man.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. That is incredible.
Yeah. And I've done Pacino for Pacino. He's a real good friend of a friend. So I met him one day on the street and we just started talking and he's actually lovely.
Wow, that's incredible. What would your advice be to somebody who is a younger artist who's looking to get involved in voiceover work?
I think the biggest thing, and you probably attested this, Janet, is if you're not used to anything, take some acting classes because it's not just about your voice, it's about acting. And a lot of times, and you see the breakdowns, they don't want characters anymore. Even on camera, they want real people.
Right.
They don't exist. But anyway, real people don't exist. Yeah, we're all
characters.
I mean, especially in New York, you walk around, everybody's a character. Oh, that guy's a character.
100%. I'm one of them. We're all characters.
Exactly. So, but for young, hey, go into focus, camera. So for young people that are starting out, I do that. And one of the greatest things was I got to work with Kevin and Frank, Colin Mockery, some really good improvers. So take an improv class. We miss UBC, right? That's gone, right? UCB, sorry, UCB. UBC is University of something else. Anyway,
I would also definitely, as a comedian, hop on that train. Is taking an improv class because improv can help you with everything in life, not even just.
No, not just acting, but if you're a CEO of a company, go take an improv class because when you get in front of your people, even managers and stuff, you're able to talk to people a lot easier if you have some sort of improv background.
Yes, that whole yes and thing definitely comes in handy in any line of work. So is there any special story that you can think of that really, really was like a defining moment in your career in terms of voiceover work or any moment in the arts that just really made you feel like this is why I love what I do?
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is so this is strange because it just happened again. Yeah, Monday night. I'm not for the career part, but Monday night, I went to see an FYC for the Emmys for a show that's coming out on HBO called The Survivor, and it's the story of Harry Haft, who was a Holocaust survivor that came to Brooklyn and became a boxer, and he survived. Now, years ago, with a gentleman named Arnie Zapersky and Fern, I'm going to mess up her Levitt, Fern Levitt, we did a movie called Friedrich Kellner, My Opposition. And it was the story of this German Nazi doctor who helped Jews escape.
Wow.
And going to see the movie brought back the studio session where I was playing Kellner. And I had to talk to his great grandson, and he goes, "Oh my God, you sound like my great grandfather." And so I did his voice for this thing, and I hit this one spot. I tried not to memorize the script. I just wanted to read his memoirs, and they basically showed me his memoirs in person, and I hit the floor and I couldn't stop crying. It took like an hour to stop and come down. And they just said, take all the time you want. It was really hard. And so watching this movie again on Monday, it hit me the same way. But that one was a pinnacle because it was doing a real person and capturing what I thought would have gone through his mind. I mean, doing all the other stuff is fun. I love it. We're having a great time. My best buddy was Tony Pastor, one of the greatest directors, worked for Stan Lee. I got to work with Stan Lee. Stan never called me Tony, by the way. He always called me Krog. Hey, Krog, it's me, Excelsior, you know, and that was just a lot of fun. But yeah, Tony and we did tons. I can't tell you how many voices I had done with just him alone on all the Stan Lee stuff. Probably, I'm going to say 500-600. You know, so it's you're just doing little characters here and there, and then your main characters, but they all add up to really cool stuff. And then when I came to New York, I got to work with a really amazing person named Dan Fink, and he cast me in a lot of ADR. We were doing, in fact, at the same movie, I saw John Leguizamo, who I'd met on the set of Assault on Precinct 13, the remake, and we became, you know, connected, but not best friends or anything. But he said, hey, I know you, I remember you. And I said, by the way, I did your ADR on a movie called The Underdogs, which we both did characters on. But the first night I was there, I heard Chaz Palminteri's voice, and I go, oh, that's a really good Chaz Palminteri, I like it. And the guy, the producer, goes, are you available next week? Why? And he goes, he's away, I need a whole bunch of lines ADR'd. So I go, yeah, I'll do it. And so I ended up doing Chaz, Bobby Moynihan, Taran Killam, John Leguizamo. God, it was like 7 or 8 characters. And then I think on my breakdown on Flobelsky, there's Alec Baldwin's listed, and I ran into Alec, and all the Amazon commercials that he was doing, they had me do all the placements for him. So I read as Alec for all this stuff, and then they made him read for it. It's cool.
Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, so you were talking about this real person's voice that you had done for this, I think you said Hulu show, right?
No, I don't know where this one ended up playing, but it's online somewhere right now, and it's an older movie. It's got to be about 10 years old, but it was heavy because and it was a real story about this doctor. But you were going to ask a question.
Yeah, no, I was going to say so that sounds like it was it was very based in a real life scenario. When you're doing these characters that are more fictionalized, that kind of are these more animated, free characters that aren't necessarily based on a real person, where do you start with creating an original voice for a character?
Oh boy. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a great question, Jen. I'm always the guy they bring in, like even Tony the Tiger. I just happened to be in the studio, and they go, we've got Thurl Ravenscroft for like 15 minutes now. Just so anybody out there who knows me, I'm the guy who replaces everybody else. So even in X-Men, Chris Potter was the original Gambit. I played his brother, Bobby LeBeau. Chris left the show, I became Gambit and did it for like 9 years. And same with Tony the Tiger. They had Thurl Ravenscroft was actually the second Tony the Tiger. The first one I think was Dallas McKennon, and they only had him for a year. And they said, "Nah, we'll get somebody else." And they got Thurl. And you know Thurl from other than Frosted Flakes. You ready?
You're a foul one, Mr. Grinch.
That's his singing voice.
Really?
Because Karloff couldn't
Whoa.
sing, you know. So they brought him in, and he was doing the commercial, and they go, "We only have him for 15 minutes." In fact, he was so old, he had an oxygen mask. So I sat down and waited, and then he leaves the studio, and they go, "Man, we didn't get a clean Tony's turbos." And I go,
You mean Tony's turbos?
and they went, "Would you mind?" And I go, "Hey, I'm doing all the tags. I get paid anyway, so I'm fine." So I replaced it, and then when he passed in 2005, they go, "You got good news and bad news." And I went, "Oh boy, I know what the bad news is." And he says, "Yeah, that's kind of the good news." So I'm like, "Okay." But it was a real honor to fill his shoes, and it's been an honor to filling Chris's shoes, to do Gambit and the X-Men, and gosh, there's so many. I don't know why I'm the guy, but yeah. And then for years I was doing a lot of trailers. Trailers are cool because they can't get the star all the time, or there's too many effects on the actual track, so they'll use the track and then they'll bring a guy like me in to replace. I've done, like I said, Colin Firth, Mark Strong, Hugh Jackman, Ian McKellen. That's a great story, Jenna. My friend, I just lost one of my best friends, a co-writer, Alan Hatcher. Yeah, me too. In December, he passed. We had written a show together called Captain Salty, and he had written the idea for it and didn't do anything. And I don't know, 10 years went by, and I go, "Hey, Alan, you still got that stuff about Salty?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You remember it?" I go, "Yeah. Do you mind if I write something?" And he goes, "No, go crazy." So I started writing all the characters we came up with together, and then I wrote a pilot. And he goes, "Oh my God, where did you learn your craft?" And I go, "Well, partly because of you, buddy." And so yeah, so one day I went to his apartment. I'm going to go back now because I went to his apartment and I buzzed on the buzzer and I hear, "Hello." I go, "You're not Alan." He goes, "Neither are you." I went, "Oh, okay." He says, "But you don't sound like a murderer. I'll buzz you in." So he buzzes me in. I go upstairs and this door pops open. This guy's looking through and he goes, "Just checking to see if you're a murderer." And I go, "Fine." And Alan opens his door. He goes, "Oh, Tony, I see you've met Sir Ian." I go, "Oh, Sir Ian McKellen. Wow. We're both the X-Men." And he goes, "You're not on the movie." I go, "No, how's the cartoon?" He goes, "You can come back and visit anytime." It was lovely. I really liked him. He was cool.
You know what I love about how you're hearing stories from voiceover actors is you get all of the characters that in the story, like when they're recounting it, it's great.
Yeah, I just did an audition for some character as Elvis, and I didn't even tell my agents, "Hey, you got to let them know I was in the series Erie, Indiana, The Other Dimension. I played the big fat Elvis. In fact, I gained 88 pounds for that stupid thing. I don't think I've ever lost it." Yeah. And then, yeah, that's my favorite. That was a good one. Jonathan Winters. That was a tough one. I had to replace Jonathan's voice after he passed on Smurfs 2. And then towards the end of the film, you could hear the voice is really aged. And the director's like, "You're good, but there's just something about the age." So they had John Biner finish that last 10 minutes. It was really cool because I love John. And John, for a while, had a show called Bizarre. And if you can look it up on YouTube, you'll laugh. It was so stupid. And that's where I met Bob Einstein, was through John. And then, of course, there's one of my favorites, another pinnacle, my friend Paul Lavoie, who owned taxi advertising across America and Canada. He says, "I want you to play John Lennon in a commercial." So for a while I was doing John's voice, and I kind of look like him. I've got the face, and then ended up going to LA and shoot this commercial as John, and it was fantastic. And yeah, that was a good. So we go back to the pinnacle.
It's so cool to hear how it seems like one project of yours has lily padded kind of you into the next project, or connected you with the next voice you were going to do, or the next person you were going to work with. It's so exciting to hear your journey. And Thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thank you.
Where can we hear more of your voiceover work?
Let's see. I think on Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, you get to hear X the Owl, by the way, played by originally Fred Rogers. And that was really wonderful. I was doing a Comic-Con. That's another thing. You come out to Comic-Cons, we'll have fun. I was doing a Comic-Con and Mr. McFeely was there and he says, you're doing X the hell. I go, he goes, that was Fred. And I go, wow, it was another big set of shoes to fill. And yeah, so that's kind of cool. And then I'm in let's see, a movie coming out, written and directed by Thomas G. Waits of the Warriors fame and Injustice for All. And I'm playing a mafioso, so it's one of those things. But it's the movie's a comedy, and all the other actors are dramatic actors, but they're doing the comedy. I'm the comedy guy doing dramatic. So I'm actually my part's really straightforward. I don't get, I'm not doing comedy lines at all. So it's pretty cool. So that's one of the on-camera ones. And then I just oh yeah, and you can catch me on my website, tonydaniels.com, and find some stuff there, and then online.
Perfect. We will look out for the movie, and we will look out for you at Comic-Con, everyone.
And you and I have to have fun together one day. We got to go do a voiceover.
All of the voices. We will be doing all of the voices, Tony, and I can't wait. Thank you so much for joining us today. And please, everyone, visit the Flobel website and also visit Tony's website to see more of his incredible talents. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Jana.